Hey, welcome back to Geocaching World with Andy HeadHardHat Smith over my shoulder, and I'm Dave Dufour here on RV Newsnet at RVNN.TV. Hey, we got just a comment from the chat room. Was that you had done some live streaming using the iPhone on Ustream, and you had done some live streaming like we're doing now from CacherCon. Tell me, that's a new one for me. CacherCon is what is that's like a national international convention?
It should be. I'll tell you what. Basically, what CacherCon is, one of the things that geocachers do are known as events. So, in
Mm-hmm.
other words, an event is when you have a bunch of geocachers come together for a purpose, either for something to do, a set of activities in of itself, or in this particular case, like CacherCon, where Daryl W4, who actually invented this for CacherCon, is a bunch of tutorials where we brought in experts that literally talked sessions all day
Mm-hmm.
and talked about all different subjects of geocaching.
Right. Okay. So it sounds a little bit like in the RV world is what are called rallies, which in
Oh
other
yeah.
words the RVers get together and learn more about RVing and also just enjoy spending some time together. Seems to me that the events aspect would be a lot of fun, especially if you obviously meeting people is part of the fun of any hobby, I think, and meeting others who are enjoying it. So. Anyway, we were talking about geocaches, and tell us a little bit what. Okay, we haven't really looked at what a geocache is specifically, and the kinds of things that you can find. So you have some examples for us, and we had at least one on video here, just for folks to understand exactly what it is that they are typically going to be looking for.
Yeah, and keep in mind there are different types of geocaches in them themselves. Well, we're going to be showing you our examples of different sizes of geocaches.
Mm-hmm.
These are known as traditionals. These are your standard geocache where the minimum requirement is you have a geocache container itself and a logbook. Some of them are bigger and have more stuff in them, but the minimum requirement is they have to have a logbook in them.
Okay, and
One of
then
the examples of the small ones, or what they call micros, is this guy right here. This is what is known as a bison tube. It's
mm-hmm.
simply a tube, and I'm going to take this off right here. It's simply a tube with a cap, and inside is a logbook.
Okay, so
That's
that
a basic micro.
and the logbook is in many cases just a rolled up piece of paper
Piece of
or
paper.
several sheets of
Yep.
paper. Yeah. Okay. So
And
there's
the idea is
no
when you find the geocache, you show that you actually found it,
yeah.
and you sign that log.
So there's no swag typically in a micro.
No, usually not. I'll say another example of them would be here is a standard 35 millimeter container.
Mm-hmm.
These are, sometimes they'll put magnets in them and stick them someplace, but this is a very inexpensive micro that they can have with that. One of the more expensive ones would be something like this, which is, like, say, for example, a match holder. Costs a couple of bucks, but it's more waterproof and a little more durable.
More durable than the bison tube, or the bison tube looked pretty durable to me.
Yeah, they're very durable with that, but things like 35 millimeter containers,
Right.
those warp over time and sometimes become waterlogged because of the seal breaks on
Right.
them.
And that brings up a whole other issue too, which is that if you're the person hiding the cache, you there's a certain aspect of maintenance that goes along with these things, right?
Yeah, you really want to consider the environment that you're putting your geocache. If it's an area that tends to have more water or extreme cold, like say in the northern states, you want to have something that has a much more durable plastic to it because it's going to warp on you.
Okay. All right. So what other kinds of what other sizes of caches are we going to be hunting
The
for?
the next size up is smalls. So you go micros and you go smalls. Smalls are something like this. This is your standard small Tupperware or lock and lock box. If you notice, it's got the really nice seal at the top, and it clamps down in four different sides to it.
Mm-hmm.
They can come clear like this, or you can camouflage them and paint them like this.
Oh, okay. Great. Okay. And typically those will contain other items besides a logbook.
Yeah, normally in a case like that, usually you'll have your smaller swag that's in there, and then, and we haven't talked about these yet, but I'm sure we will down the road. You have what are known as travelers, which are like geocoins and travel bugs, which are game pieces that move from one geocache to the next. We'll get into those.
All right. So, okay, what's next?
Next size up is regular. Now, this gives you a good example of one of the larger ones. And then another example is the ever popular ammo box.
Okay. And where do you get these? Are Army surplus kinds of things? Is that where those are usually purchased?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places to get them anyway.
That's right. Cool. All right. So that's a pretty heavy duty thing. Now, is the ammo box typically waterproof?
I would say for the most part, yes. There are some areas that, like say for example, and I did not know this until talking to some geocachers recently, if you put a ammo box near the ocean, the salt water will corrode an ammo box within literally weeks.
Wow.
So yeah, it's one of those things that you have to again do a little research about the environment you're working with.
Okay. Well, we have a video now. These things are sometimes hidden rather cleverly. We have video of I think of you uncovering an ammo box here. It was in the sort of a pile of brush under some sticks and things like that. Is that typically something that's kind of hard to find?
Here's your standard log.
It's not too hard to find in those particular cases because they are so large. But one of the things that you look for is, for example, what we call the TP of sticks. When somebody hides an ammo box on the ground, they usually put it in a crux of logs, and they will cover it with ground cover and then sticks. And usually they're kind of uniformly laid, so when you look at it, you know what you're seeing.
Okay. Well, let's rerun that video because you actually talk over it and describe some of the items in there. Well, let's hear what that has to say.
Says geocache. Looks like it's tied. Here's your standard logbook. Different types of trinkets. All sorts of goodies. We're going to take this apart and see what's inside, trade some items, and then move on. But that's what it's about when it comes to geocaching. The hunt is the whole part. What you find inside a geocache, sometimes you don't find, great stuff. Sometimes you find some really cool stuff. The hunt and finding the geocache.
One of the things that occurs to me is that this is you generally when you're geocaching you're in the hunt, so to speak. Is it usually just you and a couple other people tops, or do you sometimes do this as kind of large groups of people and kind of have fun finding a number of things at a time, or is there just variations on that theme?
I think it's variations. A lot of times people like doing the loner aspect where they just go up by themselves and just enjoy geocaching that way. A lot of times for, say, example, teachers that want to teach about earth science in general, they will take classes out and show the students how that goes. It really runs the gamut both ways.
That's great. Okay. Well, what we're going to do is come back in just a minute. We're going to talk a little bit about the etiquette and some of the things that you should remember while you're having fun. What are some of the responsibilities that geocacher has while out there looking for the geocaches? So stick with us here on Geocaching World. Got a question or a comment about geocaching? Send it to geocache@rvnn.tv or leave us a voicemail at 877-578-RVNN, extension 714. Tell us about a cache you especially enjoyed finding, and we may feature it in an upcoming episode. Follow RV Newsnet on Facebook and Twitter, and you can receive text messages to alert you when we're streaming live by texting RVNN to 72727. That way, you can join us live in the chat room, ask questions, and become part of the RV Newsnet family. Remember, any photos or other material submitted to us become the property of RV Newsnet and cannot be returned. Today's show is brought to you by Angie's List, where you'll find thousands of unbiased reports and reviews about service companies in your area. Whether you're looking for a roofer, plumber, house cleaner, dentist, or even a doctor, Angie's List members share their experiences with each other so that you can choose the service company that's right for your job. Companies can't pay to be on Angie's List, and the reviews come from people just like you who have had experience with the companies mentioned. To find out more, go to rvnn.tv and click on the Angie's List ad.